And so with that, I want to kind of invite Kris Boudreau and Tanya to say a few words on the role of faculty governance in the time of COVID. Kris?
Okay, thank you, Ole. And I don't think Tanya's going to be speaking
Okay.
today. I'm doing this for all of us, and um, so I want to start by mentioning, and I didn't put a slide together with all the names of all the faculty who are serving on faculty governance, but there are over 100 faculty doing this work. Or at least there are over 100 faculty positions. It's possible to serve on 2 committees. That's the maximum, and some of our faculty are doing that. So I know we're all overcommitted, but some of us are also overcommitted, and we couldn't do it without all of the faculty volunteers. Let's see. So I want to start, if Rachel, if you could advance the slide here, to talk about governance measures that we took for the pandemic, and these started in D term when we had to go remote. But these are measures to allow us to continue our work uninterrupted. We established the remote faculty meetings, which includes synchronous remote voting. And when we vote next month on another proposal I'll talk about, we will have secret ballots, which is something we were able to do in Olin Hall, but so far have not done. We established a process for expedited action on critical issues. We haven't had to activate this yet, but in case there was an urgent critical issue that came up and needed a quick decision from the faculty, and we couldn't assemble the faculty, the elected leaders of all of the governance committees would vote and make a decision, which would then be ratified by the faculty once we could meet, or overturned, I suppose. We also implemented electronic elections we've used them now for governance committees and also for search committees for the 2 dean positions, internal dean positions. And this is something we've long wanted to do, because the process of counting ballots and doing runoffs is really time consuming. But we just never got around to it. It was complicated. And I have to give a big shout out to Craig Shue, because he's the one who wrote the code and tried it out. And right now he's making it user friendly for doofuses like me, but we'll be able to continue this practice once COVID is behind us. Okay, next slide, please. The next thing I want to talk about are some of the initiatives that we've taken during the pandemic. So I just talked about things we did in order to get us through the pandemic, but we're also working on big issues that are not just about coping with the situation that we have now. Next slide, please. The first one is major progress that we're making toward establishing this tenure track for teaching faculty. And this work started 2.5 years ago. And we took a little bit of a pause at the beginning of the COVID lockdown, but we soon realized we couldn't wait on this. And it's been a long time, a lot of collaboration with administration, the board, the TRT faculty, and a lot of discussions with all the constituencies. We're continuing these conversations, and we'll get it together by December 10th, but we will have a faculty vote on December 10th. And what I love about this proposal is that while a lot of the work we're doing is to cope with COVID and to make sure that we're not interrupted with the usual work, which is important, this work has been, all undertaken and not interrupted, all in service of a vision for WPI beyond COVID. So we're imagining how, a big innovation that we can take and really lead higher ed in this country. So I think a lot of us are very excited about this, but it's been a lot of work from a lot of people. Next slide is another major progress that we're making. And this is for the DIGS department, the Department of Integrated and Global Studies within the new global school. So that new academic programs can be developed, so that all these faculty, including people who are on the tenure track, can have an academic department home where they can function the way other departments, faculty in other departments are functioning. And so this has meant close collaboration with the faculty in the global school, both tenure track and tenure teaching research track, and also with the administration, so that we are in alignment and that the program is in alignment with administrative strategic goals. Next slide, please. Okay, and our governance processes during the pandemic. Go ahead, please, Rachel. We've collaborated with the deans of the schools, the academic deans, in this modified process to select faculty representatives to the Board of Trustees committees. We had a process when this started with faculty reps to the committees. We changed the process last year, a couple of years ago. And now in true tech flex fashion, we've come up with a hybrid process of the two, and it's working, and it works because we're collaborating. So now the deans and faculty governance leaders sit down together with lists of candidates, and we talk them over, and we decide collaboratively on an effective slate. And here are the new representative to the board and the current reps that they'll be joining. They had their first board meeting in November. And you can talk to any of those folks about how that went. Next slide. Is there a next slide? Oh, yeah. Oh, and this is just the regular business that we do all the time. And oops, I guess it looks different. It's differently formatted. It looked really nice and clean when I had the original slide. Sorry about that. But these are the committees that have these 100 and more faculty reps on them, as well as in many cases, staff reps and administrative reps and student reps as well. Okay, and all of the work that gets done here gets done anyway and has continued without interruption. I think Danielle Cote demonstrated beautifully how lives are getting more and more complicated, but we're continuing to do our regular work just in different, funkier ways. Next slide, please. Okay, and then teaching during the pandemic. Go ahead, please. We've worked closely and, I have to say iteratively because it was a complicated thing to resolve, but to secure faculty choice about teaching in person or in a hybrid fashion or all online. And it was complicated because we had all of these different considerations that didn't always seem compatible. But in the end, I think with the president and the provost and faculty governance, we were able to come up with a solution that does take into account the viability of the institution, our financial viability and well-being, and then safety and peace of mind of the faculty, and then the students as well in their learning environment. Next slide, please. And this through the CITP committee has been working on recommendations for digital learning. So with, looking at different test proctoring software and the extent to which it protects or violates student privacy. And these are complicated issues as well. And finally, I want to say, we heard this morning about student resilience and creativity and optimism. But we're also hearing a lot about student distress. And just today, a colleague shared an email from a student who was in quarantine and revealed how mentally and emotionally devastating that experience was. And so, again, I want to just remind everybody that students are suffering greatly. And some of us, a lot of us are aware of some of it. I don't think anyone has a real grasp of the extent of it. And faculty and staff, including administration, are working very, very hard. And so I think we're all having our own troubles, and we just, again, to be mindful of that. Nothing has stopped and a lot has been added. So I think that's my last slide. I want to just say in summation, sorry, Rachel, that to the extent that, we've found the right balance between autonomy on the one hand and responsibility to the institution and to our students, or the balance between continuing all the business that we have to do, that we've always done, and coping with our new environment and taking on big challenges, big goals that are important and we felt couldn't wait. faculty and faculty governance has been at the heart of that. And I'm really proud of that. And I want to thank all of my colleagues who've been involved in faculty governance.